This is Ironman with POTS and Type 1 diabetes. Week 20. I am an Ironman. I did that shit in an hour and 14 seconds. We did it. 20 weeks of training into one day, 14 hours and 21 minutes. We completed the 2.4 mile swim in an hour and 13 minutes, the 112 mile bike in 6 hours and 55 minutes, and the 26.2 mile marathon in 5 hours and 40 minutes. And while I did not PR my marathon, it was not, in fact, my slowest. I actually ran 2 marathons slower than that, and then I didn't have to run an Ironman first. I'm going to tell you 2 things. One, this was one of the hardest things I've ever done in my life. And number 2, it went very well. A lot of endurance events, I try to psych myself up. I listen to music to get in the zone. I actually visualize suffering. I visualize through the suffering. I'm seeing it as like this really hard thing that I'm doing. I did the exact opposite with Ironman. I wanted everything to be calm. I wanted everything to be relaxed. I focused on box breathing. I focused on 4-6 breathing. I focused on controlling my POTS and keeping my nervous system calm, reminding myself that I have trained for this, I have prepared for this, and the only thing left to do was to do the thing. The night before the event, my blood sugars were high. It's always hard to maintain these when I travel, especially when you're staying at a hotel in the middle of nowhere. You know, I had very bad sleep for a couple nights, which just always seems to be the case whenever the night before a big endurance event. However, by the time that it was actually in the morning, I was at a stable blood sugar level, which was really important, and I had 85 grams of carbohydrates, 65 grams of protein. I don't know the fat off the top of my head, and I had my protein shake. So my blood sugar was already starting to get a little bit high by the time that I reached the event in the morning. I ate a banana when I was down there, and then before the event, I had actually brought my finger checker, my finger pricker with me. I put it into a waterproof case and I tucked it into a pocket in my tri-suit with the understanding that if I lost it, I lost it. But I was able to check my blood sugar right before the start of the race, and it was 330. So even though I had brought a honey stinger with the intention of taking that right before the race started, I decided that I didn't need it. The nerves were high at the beginning of the race, but I did everything I could to keep calm. I enjoyed talking to a lot of other first-time athletes, a lot of first-time triathletes, a lot of first-time Ironmen, and you could know that you simply weren't alone. A lot of people had the same jitters. And right before the start of the race, I told this woman next to me, and I said, you know what? You already did the work. Let's manifest the outcome. You already are an Ironman. And so that I told myself the exact same thing. About 30 seconds before it was my time to start, I dropped to one knee, as I often do before these races. I said, God, give me strength. I got up, and when I finally heard that beep, that's it. It's go time. Start in the Garmin, drop in the water, and start swimming. The swim was the easiest part of the day. And being a longtime Spartan racer, the Johns River was not the grossest thing I've ever swam in, but the current was wicked. I mean, it was moving. And I stuck to my plan. About 30 minutes into the race, I started looking for a place to pull over. I found a buoy that wasn't wildly populated around. There was a little hook on the side of it, and I just kind of held on to it with my finger. And then I had tucked a gel into my tri-suit, and I actually had paper clipped it in there. And so I reached that, and I took the gel as planned. I had no idea what my blood sugars were, but I would rather risk a high than a low. And it was crazy because as I'm holding on to that buoy, I mean, the current was ripping. So I was doing my best later just for sighting. The swimming was nice. I was moving along nicely. And then all of a sudden I look up and I see everybody moving towards this floating dock. And I'm like, there's no way that's the finish, right? And it turns out it was. I get out of the water, I looked down at my watch and saw an hour and 13 minutes, which is about 30 minutes, maybe even more, faster than I was gonna do it. And I was just fired up. I started yelling, fuck yeah, let's fucking go. I mean, it was about to be a long day, but I was about to bring my A game. So from there, transition, I didn't run to transition. It was going to be a long day, and the extra 30 seconds wasn't going to kill me. So as a matter of fact, I didn't even walk on the red carpet very long because it was all very slippery, and I'm glad I didn't, because I saw that somebody actually hurt themselves and was unable to complete the race. I saw my wife right before I got into transition, and I was just fired up and ready to go. So we got on the bike. The plan was to drink 1.5 to 2 liters of water, 1,500 to 2,000 milligrams of sodium, and 90 grams of carbohydrates every hour. And I executed near flawlessly. I put Tailwind Nutrition, which was 90 grams of carbohydrates, into my front water bottle, and I just kept refilling that one at the various aid stations. They were handing out Precision Hydration 1000, which is a really confusing name, but it's about 750 milligrams of sodium. So between those two, we're about 1,400. I can't math right now. And so I actually took salt tabs, where I would take 1 salt tab per hour as well, which was another 250 milligrams. And that was just to make sure I stayed at minimum for that 1,500 milligram range. And it was hard. I mean, you wouldn't think that it's actually, but you were force drinking the entire time. My blood sugars were actually stubbornly high. They were north of 300, at least north of 200 for the entire bike. But so I was once again sort of in that position between not wanting my blood sugars to be too high, but also remembering what it was like to bonk when I didn't get the sodium in, when I didn't get the fuel in there what I needed. And I knew it was going to be a long day, and I knew I would eventually burn it off. So the plan went well, and I executed with my liquid calories. I did not cramp. I definitely suffered and slowed down a lot from the heat exhaustion. I don't know if I slowed down. Some of my fastest paces were on the way back. But I mean, at one point I caught myself falling asleep. I almost took a wrong turn somehow, which was pretty hard to do with half of the Jacksonville police force telling me which way to go. But I'll tell you what, POTS did not stop me. Diabetes did not stop me. So then it was on to the marathon. The craziest shit I ever thought to do in my life was not to run a marathon in Florida, but to run a marathon in Florida after just biking for 112 miles and baking in the hot, unforgiving Florida sun. All right, here's where my plan started to fall apart, because my plan was to humbly walk through the aid stations to make sure that I could get water, that I could get electrolytes, that I could get any sort of fuel that I needed there. The problem was I couldn't take any more. It was so hard for me to drink anything. I mean, I was force drinking to get those, just to get the sodium in there, anything I could do to avoid bonking. I took a couple gels when I had to, and that was, again, the tricky part is that they were still being stubborn for a little while. So I was never really in a danger of a low, which is good, but it was so hard to take in calories. I was feeling nauseous, I was getting a headache, the heat was weighing on me. So all the fueling that I did on the bike did its job to keep me fueled for the run, at least where I could survive. But I'm telling you, it became a sufferfest. Ironman is a physical sport. It's a physical problem with a mental solution by a spiritual effort. And all I had to do, when I realized this, was to break it down to the wildly specific and stupidly simple. At first it started from aid station to aid station. All I have to do is run to the next aid station, and then I can walk through it. When that got too hard, it became, you know what? I'm just gonna run for 5 minutes, and then I'm gonna walk for 1 and give myself a reset. The last 7 miles of the race, the last loop, it became, I'm gonna run for 3 minutes, and then I'm gonna walk for 1. Every time it became overwhelming about how many more miles I have left or what time it was, I said, you know what? Shut up. We're going to run for 3, walk for 1. Run for 3, walk for 1. Rinse, wash, repeat, keep moving forward. And I will tell you, one of the most exciting things that actually was happening to me that day is when I was running, even though the effort I had put in, even though the heat exhaustion I had suffered, the dehydration I was staving off, all of it, when I was running at a 10:30, 11:30 pace, never north of 12. And I'll tell you what, I could barely get my heart into zone 2. It was the exhaustion, it was the stomach and GI issues, and just my legs being tired that were slowing me down. I was so afraid of running 17-minute miles because of POTS. I was so scared of having the DNF because I wasn't going to be able to continue, or I wouldn't be able to make cutoffs because of this stupid ass condition. And you know what? I may not be able to beat POTS, but on this day, POTS did not beat me. I may not be able to beat type 1 diabetes, but on this day, diabetes did not beat me. By the time you come around for mile 25, you're right along the Jacksonville riverfront. The bridges are built up. The bridges are lit up, the buildings are lit up, and then just off in the distance, right off there in the sky, you can see the Ironman logo. You can hear the crowd, you can see the red from the lighting, and you can hear the announcer saying, "You are an Ironman," and you know that you are just about done. I was overwhelmed with gratitude. You would think sometimes you want to pat yourself on the back, but that's not what it was for me. I was overwhelmed with gratitude for the people who showed up for me. And I don't mean just like that day, although there were people that day and that was amazing. People who helped me to get there, whether it be from information support, financially. It's incredible what can happen when you're willing to believe in yourself. When you can imagine your life beyond the limits that you're living, or better yet, without any limits at all. I talk about live inspired, and that's what it means to live inspired. Inspiration is everywhere. Sometimes you just have to look for it. The volunteers were absolutely amazing. The spectators were absolutely amazing. All the city officials and police that kept us safe. And I know there were incidents, and I imagine that's going to be just about everywhere. And there is no one I am more grateful to than my wife. She has shown me just such incredible support from the very beginning of this, at times when I had no business doing this thing, and she has been there every step of the way. When I was running down that red carpet, I was expecting to absolutely lose it emotionally, and I was kind of hoping to. I've been saving those endorphins the whole time, and then it was just incredible. People started throwing out their hands, and next thing you know, I high-five a little kid, and I'm high-fiving somebody else, and I'm high-fiving somebody else, and I really just took it all in. It was really one of the most present moments I've ever had in a very long time. I mean, this was an incredible, trying experience on so many ways. But to cross that finish line, to have someone put that medal over your neck and to say that you are an Ironman. When for so long I believed I was broken. When for so long I was convinced that just something was wrong with me and I wasn't good enough. For so long I allowed myself to be a victim and to live like a victim and to feel that way and to feel that I was less than. Well, that's not true, because I'm not broken. I am an Ironman. The reason that you think you can't is the reason that you must. There are no such things as excuses. There's only choices. And we have a freedom to choose. We have a freedom to choose hard things. We have a freedom to choose progress. Nobody told us it was gonna be easy, but that's just the cost of doing business. When it's all said and done, what do you want to look back on your life? Do you want to look back and say, man, I was broken because other people told me I was? Or do you want to look back in your life and say, I defied my limits. I refuse to be a victim to circumstance. Whatever it is that you're fighting, whatever it is that you think is holding you back, this is your chance to live. This is your opportunity to fill in the dash on your gravestone. Anything is possible if you are willing to endure for it, if you are willing to suffer for it. Keep moving forward in the relentless pursuit of your dreams. Let's go. Live inspired. Well, look, that's it. If you've been following this journey, I appreciate it. If you're just tuning in, I am a type 1 diabetic. I was diagnosed with POTS, and I'm an endurance athlete. I wanted to do an Ironman, and there was very little information out there available. And although I was able to connect with some people, there wasn't a lot. And so I figured I'm just going to make it a little bit easier for the next guy. If any of this was informative to you over the last 20 weeks or even inspiring in your own challenge, whether it be POTS, diabetes, or something else, I hope so. If you think someone else can hear the message, I would hope that you share it with them too. If anyone ever wants to contact me, I am everywhere on the internet at Stride Motivation, and I'm happy to be a resource in any way that I can. So whatever your journey, thanks for tuning in. Keep moving forward. Let's go. Live inspired.